Okay, I'd like to start by saying welcome everybody. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay.
Yep, Matthew, you're nice and audible.
Perfect, perfect. I think I'm
I can
going
see
to
your screen as
give,
well.
awesome. I think I'm going to give everyone just a couple more minutes. I know that starts at 2, but I think we'll give them about 2 or 3 minutes just to make sure if there's anybody that, might be able to connect in a little bit later. But let's give it about 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll just go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and begin. If at any point you guys can't hear me or if you have trouble hearing me, please let me know and I'll be just sure to speak up or even to slow down. But my name is Matthew Quintana. I'm a channel sales representative local in North America, specifically covering California and Hawaii. So if any of you from that area are in this webinar, welcome. If you guys have any questions after the meeting, please feel free to reach out to me directly and I can assist you. And for those of you that maybe can't or maybe aren't from that region, if you have any other questions or if you want to follow up about anything regarding Clear ID, please feel free to reach out to channel sales directly and your local representative will be able to assist you. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So for those of you that don't know what Clear ID is, Clear ID handles physical identity and access management within an organization. And it sits on top of Synergis Access Control. So it works alongside with Synergis. And Synergis manages cardholders, credentials, and doors. Clear ID manages the physical identities on how people flow within a specific organization. So usually, with access requests, right, an email or a paper form is sent to a security personnel. And once that is submitted, that email or that form has to be approved by, a right authority or authorities for that specific credential. And then once it's approved, they gain their access. And with the current model, it's difficult to actively manage, temporary access and even, the rights of new employees. And when an employee changes roles within an organization, usually their access rights change as well. And currently, this task is manually done by an administrator. Visitor access even is usually provided by a generic badge and an escort at the front desk. And finding the right balance between restricting access, lowering risk, and ensuring convenience is a tough balance to strike because there's no efficient, consistent way to manage access rights and automate that process. And mergers and acquisitions in a business lead to growing interconnectivity. And when your business expands, your access control grows along with you. And with the addition of new access control elements and access right management becomes more complex. And for many organizations, they'll give, a contractor or a visitor 24 access to a specific area just in case it's needed. because they don't have a badge office or reception that's open after hours to process that contractor's access request. And as a result, the organization is increasing their risk. Now, to this day, access control is about managing cardholders, credentials, and doors. And the reality is that organizations in various segments of the market have policies to follow. Yet, ACS solutions today put all of the work on end users, and we want to make it easier for them. Rather than managing cardholders, access rights, and credentials, we should rely on identities, attributes, and codified policies. So, what is Genetec Clear ID? It's a self-service identity and access management system, or PIAM, that connects to your customers' existing business systems and to Synergis. It standardizes and codifies your customer security policies to simplify access rights management and to make them more efficient, compliant, and secure. Now, Genetec Clear ID enables customers to manage the identities of people across all their locations. By standardizing and automating their security policies and ensuring authorized employees approve access rights, it heightens security without a compromise to operations and everyday activities within their facilities. Through increased operational efficiency, they not only proactively protect their employees, buildings, and assets, but they're better equipped to comply with internal and external regulations. So the question is, what is an identity? And here's some important concepts in Clear ID. An identity is much more than just a card holder. It is the combination of several items that can make up one's identity, whether that information comes from Active Directory, an HR system, or even a physical security system. And rather than the term items, an identity is made up of different attributes. And that could be a role, a location, a title, a certification, etc. It just depends on that organization. And many of these attributes change over time. And as they evolve naturally with a person, so should their access rights. From admitting visitors to onboarding and offboarding employees and contractors, identities follow a life cycle that consists of identity creation, like when a contractor starts or when a visitor is admitted, access provisioning based on the role and attributes assigned to the identity evolution, whether that be promotions, role changes that may lead to different access to a building. And finally, access termination, when an employee leaves the organization or when a visitor finishes their visit. With Clear ID, our customers adopt a more thorough approach to managing their access rights. Employee onboarding becomes centralized and connected. Users are guided by policies and workflows, which provides less guesswork and greater automation as opposed to the manual coordination between teams as it stands now. And with the self-service model, managing requests for visitors and contractors enable them to be admitted more efficiently. Your customers further regulate access based on certifications and training so that their security is consistent and up to date throughout the employee's tenure. Ultimately, customers improve the flow of people with fewer bottlenecks, and convenience can finally march in step with security. So here we go, getting into our aspects of Clear ID. So defining provisioning workflows with attributes based on your organization's policies will create a provisioning automation that eliminates the manual effort and thereby saving you a ton of time. It also takes out that human error element from provisioning manually. And if an employee changes job title, department, moves to a different site, the system automatically adjusts their access rights when their identity attributes are changed. Traditionally, security personnel are constantly involved to grant or deny access to physical locations, which becomes a risk if permissions are granted and then that personnel forgets to remove once the access is no longer needed. Employees can request access on behalf of a member or members of their team, which reduces that effort and increases flexibility within an organization. But unless automatically approved, the supervisor and or location owner would get a notification email to approve or reject, which they can simply do from the email itself or from the ClearID portal. Workflow is defined by the organization. Is an approval needed? Who is the one that approves that? Or is there multiple people that need to approve it, etc.? Visitor access management is an additional module that's available with ClearID, which allows the customer to also provision access for visitors through a self-service portal, or allows the visitor themselves the chance to request access from a number of self-service kiosks. This provides the visitor with a QR code that can be used to check in or as a credential. And do note that only specific models of the QR readers are currently supported. So what are those check-in options? For like a self-service check-in, you could use an email address, you could scan a QR code, or you can scan a registered license. Visitors can scan their email QR code, and a badge printer would provide a physical badge with picture and QR code that they can use as their access pass. And this picture, their ID, if you will, is taken with a front-facing camera of the kiosk. John, I don't know if you wanted to hop in and kind of elaborate a little bit more
Sure.
on using the QR code.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing you guys need to know for the QR code, we support right now two types of QR code. One is the Q scan, that's a standard Wigan device, but we also work with the Access intercom, like the Access door station. And what's unique about what we've done is the Access door station is an intercom in the Sipelia offering that we have in Security Center, but it can also read the QR code and push that information to the access control system. So you could have a gate where you have the access intercom at that gate. If someone is pre-registered and they know how to operate, they can simply show that QR code. And if they're a visitor registered that day, the gate open automatically. But then if they don't know, if there's a question or it's an unattended guest, then they can push the button on the intercom, and now Security Center will receive a call, and then the guard can interact with the person. So it's a really nice way of mixing the QR code, visitor management, and the intercom in the platform.
Correct. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. And with that, using let's say mobile credentials, visitors can also check in through a front desk or from a security personnel using Synergis or even a mobile app. And currently, the app for ClearID check-in is only available on the iOS store, but the future is coming, and hopefully we can make some changes and make it more accessible. And actually, yeah, here's a great example of pretty much how ClearID works for visitors checking in.
Yeah, if I may add something, like this scenario right now, what we're showing is where the QR code, the kiosk is being used, but the receptionist will issue also a credential, like in that case, an HID card, by simply scanning the QR code in security desk with the QR code reader. Then she locates the guest, and she's going to assign then a credential simply by scanning the visitor card with the USB reader attached to the security desk. And now at that point, the guest has been notified the host has been notified, and then the person will have access with the HID card in that case.
Correct. And whenever it comes to Clear ID, obviously, I guess you guys got to know how it's licensed, right? So how is it licensed? Let's just jump right into it. Clear ID is a cloud solution, and it's priced based on a subscription model. So how do we define the amount of sites a customer need? A good example is like if a campus is managed by one security team, one site owner, and one set of policies for visitors, it should all be set up with one site. Now, do note, based off this chart, there are two iterations of our site license. One includes visitor management, while the other does not. And these licenses can be used in a multitude of combinations depending on how many sites the customer has and which sites specifically require visitor management, where others are just going to be accessed by employees. For the hardware of our Clear ID, we have our self-service kiosks, and there's two options. One is going to be the tabletop kiosk, which is what you saw in the video. This comes with a 10.2-inch Apple iPad, the Wi-Fi version, and it comes with 2 years of Apple Care and the tabletop kit, which is the whole enclosure. The floor stand kiosk comes with the same package as the last kit, but with a floor stand kit instead of that tabletop kit. And the printers for each of the kiosks are sold separately, but they can be used for multiple kiosks in a central location. And with Clear ID, our licensing structure is that simple. It's licensing per site, and the hardware acquired, I guess, is per kiosk, and it just depends on what the customer is looking for, how many access points they have at each site. And from there, you're ready to go. And now I want to give you guys a quick demo of Clear ID and the Clear ID portal. So to log on to the Clear ID portal, the customer or the integrator will use their corporate email address. So here I am logged in. I'm gonna go ahead and log on. Perfect. Once we're logged on, as you can see, the portal brings us to our active accounts. From here, you can select a specific account in question, and today we're actually just going to be working off of our Clear ID demo account. So I'll go ahead and click on here. Perfect. And here we are, the Clear ID portal. Clear ID is broken out into different sections. Those sections being the dashboard, the profile, organization, reports, and administration. The dashboard is a quick overview of all access or visit requests from your site and possibly approvals that you need to make for an employee or a visitor. The profile section is all about your specific identity. And this information can be input manually, or it can be imported from an Active Directory instance, HR system, or physical access system. The organization tab contains all the configuration options for Clear ID broken down by sites, areas, identities, and roles. This is where you're going to provision policies for different access rights, create different roles, and even import new identities. Under the reports section, it's a quick way to acquire a filtered view of access requests and visits. From here, you can filter all the requests by site, by identity, by area, role, and time frame. And under the administration tab, last but not least, administration is the foundation, or should better put, this is where the solution begins. From here, you assign systems where specific sites, areas, and identities will be tied into. And note that every system, as you can see here, all of our demos, every system has an existing system ID tied into that system. So to get started, let me go ahead and go back to organization.
And
I'm going to
Matthew,
show
just
you.
to mention a quick thing, all the system IDs will need the Clear ID plugin on them.
Correct. Apologies. Yes, correct. That is correct. Every system ID, along with our software, the subscription and the kiosks, you will need the Clear ID plugin into the existing Security Center ID. That's correct. Thanks for that, Tanvi.
No problem.
So I want to go ahead and show you guys one of the identities we've actually been working on, and his name is John Doe. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring him up for you. Here he is. So John Doe is an employee. If I scroll down here, you can see he's an employee at Genetech under the specific site for Matthew's site. And if I scroll down a little bit farther, you can see this section here labeled job title. And currently he's labeled under the title basic employee. Now this is important because all of these fields in this identity page can be used to create and adjust your provisioning policies. Today, just to give you an example, we're going to really focus on this job title aspect. So currently John is a basic employee, but let me go ahead and browse back to organization. And I can show you the areas that have been created under that site, Matthew's site. I can show you those areas that have been created so you can kind of see what the provisioning policies look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to areas. Perfect. And we're gonna search and filter this entire list by site. There it is. As you notice, this is refreshed and now it's only showing us all the areas that are associated with the site name, Matthew's site. As you can see, we have 2 conference room, a confidential room, and a lobby. I'm gonna go ahead and just, for test purposes, click on conference room A. And let's go to the, let's go ahead and go to the managers. So as you can see, myself and Tanvi are set as managers, but specifically, it looks like I'm the owner of this specific area and Tanvi is the approver. So whenever a request is made for access to this area for conference room A, Tanvi is going to receive an email confirmation and in her portal where she can approve or deny that request for access. And if I go to the access role or the access tab currently under conference room A, you can see that we have 2 roles that are currently under the access tab for conference room A, advanced access and basic access. Last tab that I kind of want to show you guys, if I click on visitor management, you can see that visitor management is currently enabled for this area. So depending on which areas have, visitors in this case would need access to on their own, you can enable this per area. So currently conference room A, we want people to be able to come in and sit down in this scenario. So we have visitor access enabled so that whenever they come on site, they can walk into conference room A and be ready to go whenever the host arrives. So I showed you guys, if I go back to access, we have these 2 roles that we're going to be focusing on, basic access, advanced access, but where are these roles created? So we're going to navigate back to organization. We're going to click on roles. And as you can see, there's a lot of roles. And these are roles associated with every site and every area, every system that is associated with this account. Specifically, we just want to focus on that basic and advanced role. So I'm going to go ahead and search for the basic role. Here it is, basic access. And now we can go to managers. And as you can see, both Tanvi and myself are managers of this role, which means we can control who's a part of this role, what the provisioning policy does, etc. But specifically, I'm going to go to members. And as you can see, our friend John Doe and our other friend Jane Doe are both under this provisioning policy. So because of their attributes on their identity, they have been added to this role, the basic employee role, which gives them access to certain specific areas. And I can show you that provisioning policy here. So if I scroll down a bit, you can see currently we only have 2 fields, but these can be as complicated or as simple as the customer needs. Currently, I have it set to where the company is Genetech. So if an identity is added into our system and their company is Genetech, and it moves on to the next check, so their job title is basic employee, then they are automatically added to this role. That's what the provisioning policies do. Now, this is a simple instance, but these can get very complicated depending on the complexity of access rights in an organization. And that's one of the benefits of Clear ID is as these, let's say, let me go back to members, as these roles, as these members here, John and Jane Doe, as they change, the provisioning policy will also add them to different roles to give them access to different areas. So I'm actually going to show you currently, because now that we've seen how the areas work, how the roles work, and how the provisioning policy works, let's actually take a look at what it looks like for John in this case, because currently I'm logged on to my account, which is an administrator account. But let's go ahead and go to John. So under John, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and log in under John's Clear ID portal. And there we are. Perfect. So now that I'm in John, we can see that currently we're on his dashboard page. And if we wanted to take a look at, for instance, what areas and what rooms John has access to, we'd actually navigate to his profile tab. Under the profile tab, similar to when I was on my own profile tab, under John's profile tab, we can see all of his information that he has access to. So we can see that, okay, John's supervisors are myself and Tanvi. He's also under Genetech, Matthew's site as a basic employee. But we want to see what he has access to. So we're going to click on access. Perfect. And you can see that he has 3 sites available, if you will, to him. Currently, we're going to be focusing on Matthew's site. So I'm going to click this drop down for Matthew's site. And we can see that under Matthew's site, John has access because of these roles. You see this basic access role. John has access to conference room A, B, and the lobby. So let's see here. What about that confidential room? So whenever we were looking under Matthew's site, there was that confidential room. Why doesn't John have access to that? Well, let's take a look. If I go back to organization and areas, we're going to take a look at the provisioning policy for that room. Here we are. So if I can manage, if I go to there we go, confidential room, and go to access. Before, on all the other rooms, like if we, the test run where we did conference room A, you notice that under the access request, they had the advanced access group as well as the basic access group. But for this confidential room, only people under the advanced access role have access to it, which would explain why John couldn't see this room. But for now, we'll get back to this. Let's have John invite a visitor to a meeting in conference room A. So we're going to navigate back to his dashboard. And on the top right of the dashboard, you'll see a blue button that says invite visitors. This is where you can invite visitors to specific areas that John has access to. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this blue button, and let's take a minute and fill out this information. So we're gonna call this a special meeting. Oop. And it's at Matthew's site. And the host is gonna meet the visitor in the lobby, and we're gonna make sure that the visitor parks in parking B because that is for visitors and other contractors rather than parking A being for employees in this case. Now, if you also see there's an area here, it says which areas will the visitor have access to? Currently, the lobby is already on here because the lobby is a default automatically approved area. But we need to make sure he has access to the conference room where we're going to hold our meeting. So we're going to hit add more, add conference room A, and hit next. Now this part is important because in order to finalize the meeting details inside of Clear ID, we need to know when the event is going to take place and what it's for, because this really helps provide all the information over to the approvers whenever they're approving these access requests. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and go for today. 12 to 1, that is perfect. We'll leave that. And the purpose of this is demo. So John's going to give somebody a demo inside the conference room. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And this is where we add our visitors. So another bonus is you can add all of your visitors into one single event at one time. You don't have to do each one individually. You can actually just keep clicking on this add visitor button and add multiple visitors. In this case, for demonstration purposes, we actually have our John's friend, Bob Marley. He's going to be a part of this meeting here. And we're going to put all of his information in here. And he is part of the company. And he does not need assistance, this is actually really cool feature with ClearID. John, do you want to kind of touch a little bit more on this feature here about the assistance and for visitors?
Yes, so the idea is you can define specific location areas that, let's say, you give access to only people that have mobility issues to elevators or specific rooms. So when, as a host, I invite someone and I say, okay, my guest needs access, automatically is a card or credential will be allowed in the elevator as an example. And you can define also an approval process for that specific sections or area of your building.
Thanks, John. So now that we added Bob in here, go ahead and save it and confirm that, okay, yep, this is the information. This is perfect. That's exactly who we are trying to add. From here, I'm gonna hit next. And this is kind of a last, once over, if you will, of our meeting. Right here, notes for security. So if you have, if the customer has a personnel team in the front and, they need a little bit more information about who this person is and, what they're going to be doing, you can put that here. But for now, demonstration, we're gonna leave this blank. As you can see also in the demonstration of that video that we saw, we have SMS alerts available. So once in this case, Bob Marley checks in, John can receive SMS alerts letting him know, hey, your appointment is on time and Bob Marley has checked in. And that lets him know, okay, I can go and grab him and we can step into the conference room, whatever it might be. In this case, I'm gonna leave this off and I'm going to hit finish. Perfect. So I just hit finish and I just sent off that invitation, if you will, or that approval process to get Bob Marley invited to conference room A. And for John, let's say he wants to keep track of, what he's doing or, the people that he's invited and the meetings that he's having. What you can do is under your dashboard page, you can actually click on the status, which is all. And if I look here, we have our special meeting here with Bob Marley. And if I click on it, ClearID will actually let us know all the information that we introduced, right? It'll let us know who we invited, who's the host, where it's located, what the meeting is for, what time it'll be. But even more so, it'll let us know that we're waiting for approvals. And this lets us know, okay, it hasn't been approved yet, but we're waiting on that approval. And even more so, and just so you guys know, if this was approved or denied, then at that point we can know, okay, now we're good to go. The event is on, and I can let Bob know that I look forward to seeing him, whatever it might be.
Perfect. Now,
And
Matthew, since you
yes,
sent the request for conference room A, I have that email with me, and I'm going to go ahead and approve.
thank you. Okay, so everyone, if you'd like to know, I'm gonna bring this up screen for you. Here it is. So this is just a test email, just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. But thank you, Tanvi, for approving that, because Tanvi is the area approver. So in order for John to gain access to that area with Bob, he has to request that access. So Tanvi approved, but the email that she receives to approve that visit looks like something a little bit like this. So it breaks out all the information that's needed for that specific visit, and at the very bottom of the email, it actually shows these two buttons, approve and deny. So with ClearID and approvers and everything, if you're a busy business, the user or the approver doesn't actually have to log into the portal. They can continue working as they do. They can still go through their emails, go through their meetings like they normally do. But this email right here gets sent to them and they can approve directly from the email. So there's no extra login or anything like that required. They can just approve it directly from the email. Move this out of the way. So now that John sent off his invite, right, he was waiting for approval. Tanvi said she went ahead and approved it. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. Let's take a look and see if this has updated itself. Perfect. And if you see this here, it's been approved. Special meeting has been approved. So now this meeting is good to go. What about the visitor themselves? What does it look like for the visitor? So let's go ahead and take a look. So as you can see here, I have Bob's email open, and I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this to see what it come in. And here it is. So once the area approver agrees or either approves or denies the visit, the visitor will receive an automated email which provides all of the information of their meeting, as well as that QR code that we saw in the check-in video. And if you scroll down, this will also break out all the information for the visitor, letting them know where they're going to meet, where they're going to park, what time the meeting is at, and one of the bonuses, and I'll come back and I'll show you guys this in just a second, is whenever you create sites, systems in ClearID, you can actually assign addresses to the site. And this is important because if you have multiple locations, multiple locations with different access rights, you can actually specify, like here, as you can see, it specifies what the site is and the location, so that, let's just say this new visitor that's never been to your guys' location before has all the information they need to quite frankly, enjoy their visit when they show up. And let me show you guys where that address is created. So under the admin account, and you can verify which account you're on by just looking at the top right. So I'm currently on the admin account, my account. If I go to organization and sites, let me go ahead and look up Matthew's site one more time. Perfect. And on the site, so when you're creating the site, at the very bottom, it actually gives you an option to include the address. Please bear no relevance to this address. This is a completely random address. But for this specific case, like when you have customers, if they have multiple locations, all within a different area, you can actually zoom out on the map and see those locations in relevance. So if I keep zooming out here, I'll show you guys what that looks like. So, whoop, where do we go? Oh man, I've lost it. Apologies, everybody. Let me refresh it. There we are. So as you can see, there's a pin dropped at this specific address, and with customers that have multiple addresses, you'll see multiple pins pop up on the map for all of their different locations. And let me bounce back to my dashboard. Perfect. And I'm going to show you guys one more feature. Test. So as you can see, under the dashboard, whenever I went to all, and these are past events, but that's one of the other bonuses, and it's kind of similar to the reports feature in ClearID, but under the dashboard, under your specific identity, if you were to browse under the status all under your dashboard, you'd actually be able to see all of the visit requests that you've had. Now, in this particular case, like this canceled request here, let's pretend that this said denied. You could actually click on the request and you could see why it was denied. And from there, you petition, you could, verify with your area approver, with your manager, with your supervisor, whatever it might be, explain a little bit more into detail as to why, this request is being made. And then from that point, you can actually reopen or resend the approval request, and then your manager can approve. So at a glance, ClearID will automate security policies. It'll improve the flow of employees and visitors within an organization. It provides quick deployment through its unification with Synergis, and it'll help your organization move with confidence by always knowing who has access, where, and for how long, while always maintaining an up-to-date provisioning policy of employees and directories. That's all for the demo currently for ClearID today, but we do have some time left, I see, to answer any questions. So if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to put those in the questions section now, and we'll take some time to answer those. And if not, I really appreciate your time. And if you guys down the line have any questions, or if you just have any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us and we can assist you in any way. But thank you guys, appreciate your time, and we'll answer questions now.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, hey, Timmy.
Let's give this 2 more minutes because I see no questions as of yet.
Okay.
So if there are no questions in 2 minutes, we can close the webinar.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, we got one question. I'll take this one. The question is, which version of Security Center can ClearID work with? Unless Matthew, you know the answer, I can take it. Or
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, ClearID will work with basically Security Center 5.8 and beyond. The plugin is really just to establish a link, but there's specific functionality that were added in 5.8 to make ClearID works gracefully with Security Center.
Gotcha. Okay, so seeing as there's no other questions being asked, we're going to go ahead and conclude this webinar. Once again, thank you everyone for your time, and stay tuned for other monthly webinars.